the FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. The official partner series to the BS. This is the FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship.
Hello and good morning from a wonderfully Welsh countryside. This is round 7 of the 2017 FAB-Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, and we are here with all the fantastic racing. 2 rounds of races today, kicking off in just a short while with the Mini GP70's second race of the weekend. Pit Bike Open race follows that, and then it's the AC40 Pros, AC40 Rookies after that, and then it's the Mini F1 Sidecars, Mini GP50s, Senior Mini Moto Racing, Junior LC40s, Pit Bike 140 and Moto Team categories all coming up before we do it all again for the 3rd round of racing later this afternoon after lunch. My name is Lester, and we are in the studio all day long, and we are now online on Facebook Live and online at the FAB-Racing websites, providing live visual radio coverage here at the track on the PA system. And our commentator once again for today is Alex Raby. Hello, good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Lester. Looking forward to the 2nd and 3rd rounds of races after we had a couple of the championship winners confirmed here yesterday at the penultimate round of the 2017 season. Well, 1 or 2 championships are up for grabs here this afternoon as well, even before the final round of the season. So plenty to race for, Lester.
Certainly is, and we had some spectacular opening races yesterday. The races yesterday, incidentally, if you weren't aware, were the races that were filmed. So you will be able to watch on YouTube later in the week the edited highlights of the races that happened yesterday. And wow, did we have a sensational Mini GP70 amongst other things as well, Alex. It was pretty good.
Yeah, and some last bend dramas, some great overtaking, some dramatic falls and incidents and so on that shook races up when you were least expecting it. Even some of the races that had looked settled ended up being turned on their head with crashes and mechanical failures. So it's one of those days of drama, and hopefully we'll have similar entertainment here today.
We have a slight change in our calendar as well. So if you're not aware, the end of season Donington decider for many people in many championships will now be a Rowra Spectacular.
You were trying to think of something alliterative and you couldn't find it.
Yeah, sorry.
Good.
It's too early. Yeah, we're now going back to Rowra, and what better place to end a championship
with racing in Rowra.
There you go. See, you're a professional at this. Racing at Rowra, back again, and we will also be hosting the awards ceremony at Rowra on the Sunday evening as well. So that is something definitely to look forward to. As you can hear, the bikes are out on track for our first race of the day, which is the Mini GP70. Alex has the grid.
Okay then, lining up of course with the same starting positions as we had yesterday for race number 1, the crucial qualifying determining the starting positions for all 3 races, so it'll be the same starting positions here this afternoon as well. It's race number 2 for the Mini GP70 riders. In race 1, the top 4 on the starting grid ended up taking the top 4 positions in the race itself, and 3 of the top 4 are on the front 2 rows of the grid, those within the championship fight, including Harvey Claridge, who finished 2nd in race number 1, having at one stage sat well back down the order. He did well to recover and move up into P2. Jay Abel, starting directly ahead of him, had a good start to the race but ended up going down, so that was a dramatic incident as well. Abel then lining up off the front row of the grid alongside Casey O'Gorman, the winner of race 1. O'Gorman then will lead them away from pole position. Jay Abel alongside on the front row of the grid. Brody Crockford and Harvey Claridge, the championship leader, will be on row 2. Row 3, Callum Beach and Louis Rendell. Rendell 4th in the series standings, but with Beach closing to just within 3 points as we prepare to get underway then with race number 1. That was a very strong start from Harvey Claridge from the 2nd row of the grid there. Brody Crockford into line in P4 as they fire away down towards the far end of the circuit. Heading around this opening lap then, the first opportunity these Mini GP riders have had to sample the circuit, other than the warm-up session that they had this morning, of course, as well as yesterday's practice, race number 1 as well. So there were plenty of qualifying sessions, practice sessions before the first race action with race number 1. This is race 2. And in terms of this championship, Harvey Claridge leading the way, and with a pretty significant margin as well. At the end of the opening lap, though, it's Casey O'Gorman who's hit the front. Jay Abel in second position. So we're back where we were in race number 1. These two fighting it out up front. The difference here is that Harvey Claridge is having a strong ride. Claridge almost fighting his way through into second position. Not quite. Jay Abel holds on. Brodie Crockford under some pressure now in fourth position from Louis Rendell. We've got a similar pattern to what we had in race number 1. Callum Beach staying with the front runners here, and the top 6 starting to break away now, from Luke Coggins in 7th place, tracked in P8 by Owen Mellor. But as I said, the top 6 starting to break away. Brodie Crockford doing all that he can to stay with the front 3, who broke away in race number 1, if you remember correctly. Only Jay Abel getting into trouble later on in that race while attempting to find a way past Casey O'Gorman. In this one, it's been a steady start for both riders. It's O'Gorman who'll lead at the end of lap number 2, ahead of Jay Abel in second position. 0.3 of a second the gap between them. Harvey Claridge slipping away slightly on that previous lap, with Brodie Crockford just 0.3 of a second behind him. The top 5 all separated by 2 seconds at this stage. In fact, the top 6 separated by just 2 seconds at this stage, because Callum Beach is staying with them, behind Luke Coggins and Owen Mellor, involved in their own separate fights. Oscar Pinson and Elliot Dufton increasingly isolated in 9th and 10th positions further back. In terms of the leaders then, Casey O'Gorman with a 49.7 on the previous lap, Jay Abel with a 49.8. We saw that Abel had plenty of pace in race number 1, but couldn't find a way to get the better of Casey O'Gorman, and in the very closing stages it all went wrong for him. He'll be hoping to find his way past a little swifter this time, so as not to leave it all to the closing stages. But O'Gorman riding a good defensive ride once again. Jay Abel trying to close as they go up the Dragon Straight to the far end of the circuit. It's Harvey Claridge trying to make a move on Jay Abel. Thinks about a move down the inside, but can't quite get there. Brodie Crockford, the fastest of this lead quartet, last lap around, a 49.4, closing on each of the 3 riders, therefore directly in front of him, but hasn't been able to make much use of it on this lap number 4. Casey O'Gorman leading the way then from Jay Abel in second position. Abel having to back it off slightly as they come in towards Devil's Elbow, because O'Gorman is right on the racing line and where Abel wanted to be. One wonders what pace Jay Abel would have if he could get himself released from Casey O'Gorman, whether he would be able to accelerate away. The top 6 really bunched up, and I wonder whether O'Gorman is holding back the pace slightly here in the first race of the day, race number 2 for the Mini GP 70s. Abel with a good run off Club Corner up to the far end of the circuit, though no opportunity to come through there. But meanwhile, Louis Rendell's got the better of Brodie Crockford, so Crockford dropping down to P5 and under some pressure as well now from Callum Beach. So not a good start to lap number 5 for Brodie Crockford, who drops back and actually visibly on the circuit has dropped back from the lead quartet as well. Still 4 riders going together, but it was a group of 6 earlier on in the race, and it's Crockford in the early part of this lap number 5, having set the fastest lap of the race previously on lap 3, who has started to drop back a little bit from this lead quartet of Casey O'Gorman. Jay Abel running a little bit wide there through Devil's Elbow. Harvey Claridge attempting to gain in some ground as Louis Rendell got the better of Brodie Crockford earlier in that lap. That was the only position change on lap number 5, a new fastest lap of the race from Louis Rendell, who sits in P4. Crockford dropping then about a second back from Louis Rendell over the course of that lap. 0.9 of a second now the gap between the two of them. Race going on for third position now. Harvey Claridge with Louis Rendell right on his tail. Rendell, already having got the better of Crockford on the previous lap, is continuing to surge forward. We'll see how much more overtaking there'll be in the remainder of this race number 2 for the Mini GP 70s. O'Gorman leading it, 0.4 of a second from Jay Abel, who dropped back last lap around. New personal bests for each of the top 4, in fact, on lap number 5, so the pace is continuing to improve as the session goes on. Casey O'Gorman still leading the way at the end of lap number 6, but still nothing in it between the top two. In fact, Jay Abel has closed right in on that previous lap, 0.3 of a second faster on lap 6, so the gap oscillating between those two as Harvey Claridge goes for a move down the inside, backs out of it at the last moment, heading up now towards the spoon. The lead quartet running as a group together, Brodie Crockford and Callum Beach behind them, setting new personal bests on lap number 6 and attempting to try and close down some of that margin. O'Gorman going defensive as they come through the carousel. Abel looking for a move down the inside, unable to find it. So it is still Casey O'Gorman who leads the way. Race 1 winner, looking set for another race victory in race 2. We've got a similar pattern to what we had in race number 1. O'Gorman leading right from the start, but Jay Abel clawing all over the back of him as he was in race number 1. This time though, a pack of 4 riders has gone with them, and still plenty of position changes available to these riders. We're into the second half of this race now. O'Gorman leading it by 0.2 of a second over Jay Abel, who's gone for the inside again, coming off club corner, but can't really do anything and then has to go defensive against Harvey Claridge, who each lap around seems to go for a move into that right-hander but can't find a way to get completely alongside. So it's O'Gorman leading, Abel in second, third is with Claridge, fourth position Louis Rendell. Brodie Crockford's made up the lost ground from a disappointing lap 5 and has clawed that back now to just 0.3 of a second, so the top 6 are back in within touching distance of one another once again. Just 1.5 seconds separating those top 6. This is quite incredible. Casey O'Gorman, Jay Abel, Harvey Claridge, Louis Rendell, Brodie Crockford and Callum Beach. The first of those to put a foot wrong will lose a series of positions, because they are literally nose to tail as they come in to complete lap number 8. O'Gorman 0.2 of a second clear of Abel. That gap's been static for the last couple of laps now. Here goes Harvey Claridge, again his favoured inside run up the Dragon Straight, waiting for an opportunity, but each time he does that he compromises his speed through the right-hander, and that brings Louis Rendell back into play. And in fact Claridge has dropped back slightly from the top 2 in the early part of lap number 9, and it's Louis Rendell who's on the attack, attempting to find a way through into third position. Crockford finished third place first time out. He's down in 5th place at the moment, dropping back from him now. It's Callum Beach in P6, and the top 5 are starting to break away, but none of them is really able to offer the pace to go chasing after further positions. We haven't seen too much overtaking other than those moves through the field from Louis Rendell to move up into P4. They've been following one another quite closely, nose to tail. 3 laps remaining. We'll see if there's any passing still up for grabs here. Jay Abel the closest he's been for a while now to the tail of Casey O'Gorman as they head up to the far end of the circuit once again. O'Gorman, Abel, Claridge, Rendell the top 4. Brodie Crockford just behind in P5. Callum Beach 0.7 of a second back. The gap between the top 6, the biggest it's been all race, but it's still only 1.7 seconds. As further back down the order, Elliot Dufton puts in a new personal best and closes in on Oscar Pinson, a fight for P9 going up towards the spoon. But in terms of the leaders, it's fairly static for the moment. O'Gorman, Abel, Claridge, Rendell, still Crockford in 5th position, and Callum Beach, who has made up the lost ground. So a small error a couple of laps ago, and you can see that these guys up front are holding up one another's pace, because each time a rider drops back they're able to simply reel that gap back in. But there's no way past Casey O'Gorman for the moment, who does seem to be holding back the pack ever so slightly. Jay Abel in 2nd position, Harvey Claridge 3rd, Louis Rendell in 4th position, again gaining as they go through up towards the spoon, but still no way through for the moment. Further down the order, no change in that battle for 9th position either. Oscar Pinson has responded with a new personal best. Elliot Dufton still faster on that previous lap. Both of them going up towards the far end of the circuit now in the battle for P9. No change in places as yet as the leaders come through a yellow flag zone with Casey O'Gorman up front. Jay Abel 2nd, Harvey Claridge 3rd, Louis Rendell 4th. Still no change in the positions as they come into